Hi, everyone, and welcome to Amazing Women in E-commerce Online, the Holiday Edition. I'm Lindsay Secreta, Director of Content at Yotpo, and I'm so excited to have you all here today to talk about the most wonderful time of the year, Q4 holiday shopping. Our speakers are experts in the field, and their insights are incredible. I really recommend taking notes for this one, but before we dive into our programming, I want to take a moment to thank our sponsors, Ometria, Tapcart, Movable Ink, and Capgemini. Their sponsorship funds were generously donated directly to Girls Inc., an organization that inspires girls to be strong, smart, and bold. We've been working with this organization for several years now, and it means so much to support girls who will become tomorrow's leaders. I also want to encourage everyone to share your thoughts about today's event on social. And if you do, make sure to use the hashtag Women in Ecom and tag us so we can reshare. And while you're at it, give us a follow as well, and maybe even subscribe to our newsletter. If you don't already, now is really the time to do it. We have some really cool things coming up that you don't want to miss. But you can also connect with us during the event. We're using a chat tool that lets you ask questions, share your opinion, and connect with our other viewers, including some of our other honorees who are actually also watching as well. So who are we hearing from today? First up is a panel about what to expect from Black Friday 2021. It's never too early to start talking about Black Friday. Our experts include Max Summit, brand marketing consultant at Marketer Hire, Michelle Peters, global e-commerce marketing at UPS, and Kelsey Morera, founder and CEO at Dope. That will be followed by a deep dive into the holidays with Somia Farid-Silber, VP of e-commerce at Edible, and Jennifer Conklin, VP at Capgemini. We're so excited to have these women here today because this program really matters to all of us personally. Yotpo is an e-commerce marketing platform, so we're all always here too. In fact, I've been working in e-commerce for almost 11 years. And the majority of my career, I was either outnumbered or I was the only woman in the room. And I came to Yotpo looking for an opportunity to not only do more with my career and support D2C brands in really exciting ways, but to also connect more with my coworkers. And it has been such a privilege to work with so many women in my day-to-day. It wasn't until I came here that I realized what I was missing all this time, the support of a community of people who really understand what I've been through and are really truly committed to helping me excel. So as the director of content, it makes me so happy to hear and tell these stories from other Yotpo women and from our owies like all of you. So it is my immense pleasure to kick off today's event. So without further ado, here's my colleague Kate with our first session.
Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us today for our panel discussion about what to expect from Black Friday 2021. I am Kate Bold. I'm the brand marketing manager at Yotpo, and I am joined by several of these amazing women in e-commerce. We have Max Summit, who is the brand consultant, VP marketing and creative at the Hair Routine, Michelle Peters, who is global e-commerce marketing at UPS, and Kelsey Morera, who is the founder and CEO of Dope. Before we dive into today's topics, if you could all just go around and share a little bit more about yourselves, that would be great. Whoever wants to get started. Michelle, do you want to get started? I see you not on mute.
Sure, I'll go ahead and get started. Again, my name is Michelle Peters, Senior Marketing Manager, Global E-commerce Strategy and Execution at UPS. In my time at UPS, in addition to my time at UPS, I've been assisting business owners with developing and implementing marketing strategies for over 20 years. I'm very passionate about my work and enjoy consulting with small business owners. I like being a mentor and a life coach for female teenagers and young adults. And I enjoy public speaking and collegiate lecturing opportunities and participating in thought leadership forums such as this one. I am a wife and a mom of two. A little bit about me.
Awesome. I'm Kelsey. I'm the founder and fearless leader of Dope Cookie Dough. I started the company after getting sober. So we do lots around mental health and addiction recovery and reminding people that they're not alone in what they're going through. So sweet treat, awesome message, and a ton of fun. Excited to share what I can with you guys today.
Yeah, love that. And I'm Max Summits. I'm an independent marketing consultant. I support moms on mat leave for strategic roles in brand marketing as well as creative.
Cool. You are all totally amazing, and I am in awe of you and very happy to be sitting in this virtual space with you. So Black Friday is a big one. Let's get started with a question that we get asked all the time and basically all year long. When should brands start promoting Black Friday? Kelsey, I'm going to let you take the lead on this one.
Sure. It's just like how early is too early, right? I think of this, it reminds me like the flavor debate with pumpkin spice, and we start hearing about it. It's going to be like February, they release it again one year. It seems to creep up and up. We're in the middle of the summer, and I think Dunkin' Donuts just announced they're about to drop their pumpkin spice flavor in August. So it's just, same thing with Black Friday. We're always kind of like running that boundary of, how early is too early. And I think for smaller brands, it's really important to be strategic with what timing can you afford? What level of deal could you be offering at what time during the year? It's just not going to be realistic for many small brands to offer 30% off for the entire month or something along those lines. But is there something else of value that you could say is given with each order throughout the month, or be able to stretch it a little bit beyond just that weekend and find ways that you can add value or get a little bit more press attention, perhaps like through this month, and not be so reliant on the like extremely busy period that is Black Friday, Cyber Monday weekend?
Yeah, I think that's a great call. Michelle, do you want to speak to that at all?
Sure, I agree exactly with what Kelsey was talking about, is understanding your bandwidth from a budget perspective and a resource perspective. And I know everybody wants that magical answer, but there is no exact date of when you should and should not start your Black Friday specials. I would say get to know your audience or your target consumer. That's going to make a big difference in when you want to promote to them. Think about who that end user is. Think about their income, their base, and how they react to your current promotions and campaigns. And I think they'll give you a little bit more guidance on where that should be. A good example of that is if your target audience or your consumer base is someone who's very flexible and has the ability to continue earning extra income, then they may have budgets that allow them to take advantage of those sales earlier. If that base is more of someone who's maybe salaried or fixed income, it doesn't matter how early you start promoting and campaigning, they already pretty much have a set budget that they can spend and when those funds would be allowed and available for them to spend. So just think about who you're communicating with and who you want to buy from, and that'll give you a little bit, I think, of advice on when you should start those promotions.
Yeah, I think that's a great call. I think like from an accessibility standpoint as well, like thinking about budgeting and how long you're able to offer those deals and your core base, as well as like others that kind of come in particularly for the shopping season, I think is really, really helpful. So in that kind of line, Black Friday is like basically the entire year at this point, it feels like. And we talked a little bit about like in our past meeting, more and more stores seem to be closing their doors on Thanksgiving Day. And I think there's an interesting kind of change or shift in the way that people are talking about Black Friday. And so do you think the tone of Black Friday is changing, and how? Max, I'll let you kind of lead it with this one.
Yeah, sure. I mean, the short answer is absolutely. Like, it is changing day by day. I think what we're seeing is more and more brands like leaning into a cause greater than themselves, right? So like greater than meeting the bottom line. And I think we're moving further away from what is known as like momentary desires, right? A great example, of course, is Patagonia, who a while back made a very bold move to sort of, shut its retail stores on Black Friday. And what that did was, I think it sent a very clear message that, this model just isn't sustainable, right? And that brands have to lean into a cause that's greater than themselves and something that has a little bit more longevity than just those momentary desires. But what it also did too is I think it really sent a message around the impact that Black Friday has, not only on people, but company culture, as well as supply chain and shipping, like all of those logistics can be quite overwhelming, like at a time of Black Friday. Another wonderful example that I'll throw out there too is brands like Allbirds, who are actually doing the complete opposite. They're, instead of like slashing their prices in half and shutting their doors, they're actually increasing their prices. They're adding like $1 to every shoe that's bought. So again, that any incremental sales that's made can actually go to a larger purpose, which in that instance, was environmental movements on climate change.
Yeah, I think that's super interesting. I'm excited to see what happens this year. I think we had something that we talked a lot about at Yapo is like the increase in brands kind of like tying themselves more to their values, especially throughout COVID. Like you needed something greater to connect yourself with your community beyond just the product and the transaction side of that. And so I think it's going to be really interesting to see how brands kind of, how it plays out this season. Kelsey, did you want to jump in?
Yeah, I mean, I love this discussion. This is like my bread and butter of my cookie dough, if you will, that we're totally about like, what could we do more than just sell cookie dough? It gives us an opportunity to talk about issues we care about, raise funds for issues we care about, and have consumers that feel even more deeply connected to our brand because of supporting an issue that matters to them. So Black Friday, Cyber Monday, this whole period is a great chance for you to really showcase that in a meaningful way. For the brick and mortar stores as well, I think there's an interesting play here. We talk a lot about mental health in the workplace and this idea of how strenuous and stressful and over the top the shopping experience is on Black Friday and what your staff's going through. So often you've got these like corporate executives sitting around like, okay, we're going to run this sale. These are the hours we're going to do. They're like stretching those even crazier and crazier. And it's like, hey, remember, like there's real people who are going to be working that and, not with their families anymore. So particularly off the heels of COVID. And I think even just with this wave of focus on mental health we've seen over the last 5 to 10 years, it's coming to life even more. So for digital brands, e-commerce companies who've got this presence or those that run both, being able to stay focused on what could you do around Giving Tuesday, and then even around the sale itself, like Max mentioned with the Allbirds example, like the sale itself, the excitement, the promotion is really your purchase will do blank, giving people that real one-to-one of if you support our company through this period and buy something for yourself, people love something for themselves, can't let that go at some degree, but they also want to feel like, dang, this purchase did something great in the world. So we're definitely getting creative around this at Dope and thinking about, ways we could not only incentivize you with some delicious cookie dough, but remind you of the good that you're doing on Giving Tuesday and beyond through that period.
Yeah. Michelle, did you want to add anything there?
Yeah, absolutely. I hope that it is changing. I hope that we are, I know a lot of times we want to go forward, but I am hoping that we are going backward to where you could spend Thanksgiving and Thanksgiving Day at home with your family and really take advantage of that quality time before all the craziness like really just kicks off. So, but I like everything that Max and Kelsey are saying about, I would recommend that brands really think of how can we be creative to take advantage of sales opportunities, maybe digital or delayed, or, really making it more about your social presence and less about, trying to figure out how many sales can we make in a tight 24-hour. And I think if you show that you're being compassionate and to your employees, I think that your followers will also understand that. And I think that if you do add that social element to it, that's going to make them want to do even more. So I think there's ways around it to be able to be effective and have a good holiday campaign and not, stress out everyone with the Thanksgiving and Friday post shopping gotta have type thing. So.
And Michelle's point,
have dinner like one time a year, please.
Yeah, exactly. And I think like to Michelle's point, it's kind of like, look at the metrics that are going to matter, right? Like it doesn't have to be just sales. What if it was also about, website visits? What if you got more people sharing this and sending more people to your site? And then you've got them in your email list and future things down the road, future sales that come up, new product releases, et cetera. You've got a bigger audience to talk to. But the shareability of some social impact focus you could have over this time might actually increase another metric if it's not just directly sales in that period.
Yeah, I think that's a great call. I like Black Friday, Cyber Monday, when I was working in fashion, it was like a very different story than now working at Yapo. And it's like something that we talk about very much so all year. And something that we talk about a lot is also the sustainability part of it. You know, we're talking about sort of value-based companies, but I think any company is like hopefully somewhat aware of the impact that they're having. And when you have such a tight time period to kind of like have this massive peak in sales, you're also looking at a lot of impulse buying, a bunch of products that maybe they haven't been thinking about and wanted to invest in, but it was discounted enough that they decided to do it, you know? So I think that all of you are absolutely right, that the more that you can kind of share your brand, share your values, like stand out by having a little bit more of like a relationship with your community based on your mission, I think that hopefully it will also like push people to think about it before just like making 1,000 purchases. I'm also very guilty of this, that like show up on your front door the next week and you're like, yeah, okay, this is who I am. Yeah, it is what it is. So the next thing, I guess, kind of alongside that is, in that vein, what do you think the biggest trends for Black Friday promos and strategies will be this year? Michelle, I'll let you take the lead on that one.
Yeah, I think the biggest trend is talking to a unique audience and being very strategic in how you do it and segmenting it and getting that customer to buy from you in a different way, right? So instead of just looking at inventory or looking at what you want to promote as a business owner, and really focusing on what does my end user want or need. This is a time to use your data. Whatever whatever data method that you're using to capture, or whatever, like cookies or whatever you're doing to track the buying behavior of your consumers today, this is a time to actually put that in action. So just thinking about how can I leverage e-commerce platforms, and how can I, if I have that omnipresence, then how do I make that buying experience unique across all platforms, from a retail in-person strategy to an online strategy, so that my buyers are getting exactly what they've already showed interest in. So what on their wait list, or what have they showed as a favorite, or indicated as a favorite? What have they purchased in the past? What are those buying pictures? And then customizing those promotions to that individual user. I think if you could see more of that, and you see more of the trends that are going in that direction, I think you will have a better end result as a business owner. And I think that you will see more loyalty. And I think that focusing on that, we know that 80% of our sales are coming from our existing 20% of our existing base. So really focus there, and then have a different strategy on how do I get new sales, and what does that conversion rate look like? And how can I even leverage my existing customers to draw in, right, new customers? And build your strategy around those concepts. And I think that's how you're going to be very successful this year, as you know, as this digital commerce changes. And then you think about what's going to be different is you're always going to have those purchases that need to happen last minute. So how can you take advantage from a tangible standpoint there? So maybe sales in person in those brick and mortars happen that last 1 to 2 weeks, or maybe you do pop-up stores in your most popular geographic areas, all right? Using that data again. I just say dig into your data and build your strategy from there to be successful.
Yeah, I hope like everyone was taking notes during that. I think that for a lot of like people, a lot of our community, they're like, okay, data, like it's almost similar to me as like cloud. Like you just kind of, for me at least, it's a little bit foggy. I'm like, what data? Where am I supposed to be getting it? Who has it? Where do I go for it? And so the things that you mentioned, I think are so helpful when it comes to like items that they've looked at, things that they put in their cart, looking at who's in your loyalty program, regionally, like where are your people? What are they experiencing right now? And so I just like, you know, anyone feel free to replay that. I think that was amazing. Thank you. Kelsey, do you want to jump in?
Yeah, I mean, I love this. I mean, data is like the buzzword that will never die because it is so important. It's so important. And it has this sort of like mysterious, you're like, who has it? Where do I order this data? Like, how can I find it? We need that. But it's super important. I think one other area on the data train here is like A/B test absolute you know what out of your website. You want to be sure that you have it optimized like to a T before this timing is going to start. So take the, take this prep time to be able to say, is literally down to like, is the button the right color? Like you can A/B test everything on your site, and it all makes these micro changes that in the end do drive a higher conversion rate or a higher AOV. All are going to really change the game for your business at the end of the year. So making sure you're focused on that, super important, so that every single person you get to your site, you're going to convert the highest amount of them and get the most from them. And this brings me to another point around just small businesses really focusing on diversifying what they're doing to bring people to their site this season. We saw it last year. I mean, goodness, we were going through the election and it was Black Friday timing. So like CPMs are through the roof. It's just extremely challenging to compete with these big brands that can drop incredible amounts of money into their advertising platforms. If you look at those with a brick and mortar storefront too, like their gauge of what's a good return is very skewed because they have this sort of blended look at, well, how much did it drive in store and what did we get online? And, those that are reliant on solely e-commerce are like, oh my gosh, did we get, a 1.5, a 2, a 3, like where are we at on the ROAS is so much more critical. So really focusing on other ways to acquire new customers is going to be how you win this Black Friday season. I think focusing on press, focusing on other businesses you can partner with. Dope has had a great time doing different flavor collaborations. So thinking really outside the box on not only, okay, like, yes, we can all do a social media giveaway together, follow us, follow them. It works, but like consumers are getting a little bit sick of it. Get a little step ahead here and think of ways you can work together. We've made, a flavor with Equator Coffee. We've done different collaborations with real product side. And then even on the Instagram side and social media, Tea Drops, a tea company working with a cookie dough company, you can't really find an immediate connection there, but they're doing this campfire series over the summer and wanted to talk about self-care. And we did a recipe making Instagram live together and then doing a giveaway on top of that. So just think about these other like value add things you could be doing with other brands or with press efforts to get more people to be talking about your brand in advance of the crazy costs we're all going to pay to advertise through the season.
Yeah. Kelsey, every time I talk to you, I feel like I just get like really hungry. And I'm now really craving sweets. So next, let's get into, how can smaller brands break through? I know we talked a lot about like kind of all of the amazing things that you can do with data and how you can stand out. But I think there was a ton of small brands that, especially launched in the past like year or 2 years. And because people have more time, they're like, oh, great, I can finally make this X hobby that I've been doing a business, which is awesome. But with that said, there's a lot of competition. And so how can those brands really break through and make themselves known? Michelle, do you want to go ahead and get started on this one?
Sure. So my advice, especially to the smaller brands or entrepreneurs or someone who's really trying to break through is, first I'd say tread carefully. I'm not sure that peak holiday Black Friday season is really the time to actually break through, especially if you're not quite sure of where you want to be within your competitive realm. However, with that being said, I'd say do business with a purpose. I mean, Kelsey has said it over and over again in this forum, but do business with a purpose. So really, instead of trying to say, can I get my product in front of thousands and thousands of customers so I can become the next Gazal, really say, I'm really concerned about supporting this cause or these efforts. And when you tie a good product to a good cause, you're going to attract a certain type of following, a certain type of database, a certain type of customer, and then go from there. So if you're going to make that breakthrough, what do you stand for? What does your business stand for? There's really this old saying that says, people like doing business with people they like. So who else stands for and believes in and trusts the same things that you trust? That's that low-hanging fruit that you want to go over, and then put your money where your mouth is, right? So if you want those people, that group that you identify so closely with, to really support you, let them stand beside you and let them buy and let them see how you contribute to that cause or to those efforts. And it doesn't always have to be financially. Kelsey gave great examples of different ways that she's been partnering with other companies, but what if, you want to build a playground. It's like, hey, can some of my customers or my followers come out? We'll do some type of social media, contest, snap a picture of you building a swing set or participating in a playground or doing something arts, or let's put on, some type of, holiday program for, underprivileged, or, what can you do that really stands out? And I think if you can push through that way, it is going to allow you to segment and maybe have a smaller audience, but you'd be surprised at how beneficial that could be. So I'll just summarize again and say, do business with a purpose. And I think you'll get further. So that would be my advice.
Yeah, I think that's a great call. And I loved your comment about is Black Friday, Cyber Monday really the time to make yourself known? It's really interesting. Max, do you want to go?
Yeah, I think I'll build off of what everyone is saying. I think purpose-driven work, I think is so important for early stage companies. As a consultant, I always like to ask my clients, what is it that your brand is uniquely qualified to give to this world that other brands can't, right? Because I think once you understand the answer to that question, it becomes very easy for you to build out these, different diversifications of programs, whether it's like ambassador programs or community-based programs or mission-driven work, impact work. I think, once you understand what it is that you want to give to your customer and to your audience, I think that's where the fun really begins in the strategizing and in the execution, because it can serve as a filter and a north light to just kind of guide your principles, from point A to point B and C and D and therefore.
Yeah, I think that's great. And not to sound like a total sponsored ad for Yotpo, but brand loyalty, it will benefit you all day long. You can spend all this time, and I think this is actually literally the next question that I wanted to touch on, but you can spend all this time acquiring customers. And I think that that's a big focus for Black Friday, Cyber Mondays. Okay, how crazy can my discount be to get all these random people in the door that are going to buy this and then probably forget me in a week? Think about how you can actually connect with the community that is already engaged with you. Like Michelle was saying, use data, try to find a way to actually be aware of who your shoppers are that like you and that want to be more engaged with you, and how can you use this opportunity to better connect with them and deepen that brand loyalty, whether it's through a loyalty program or whether it's actually just through speaking about your values or doing something really cool or doing a collaboration with somebody they also care about. And so I think, all of this is super insightful. Thank y'all. The next question that I want to touch on is kind of what I was mentioning, which is that holidays, all about driving sales, acquiring a ton of first-time shoppers. But how can brands, once they get those first-time shoppers, how do they turn them into repeat customers? Kelsey, do you want to take the lead on that?
Yeah, this is my jam. I mean, I think it's we can live in this little hamster wheel of new customer acquisition, but if you don't really fix the leak, if you will, of what customers of those end up dripping out and not coming back to repurchase, it's a very expensive wheel to live in. And unless you're venture backed and they're saying, good luck, go for it, we all have to kind of live in a little bit more of a realistic world of let's make this sustainable and have that balance, try and strive for that 20 to 30% return customer rate, or higher if you can. But this growth mentality will, of course, lend to more new customers. So I think first thing first is get your retention marketing set up. There's a lot you can do on top of a loyalty program, which is ideally built into your email flows, and retention marketing in that regard. Text message marketing has also been really incredible for us, an SMS program. So having those pieces set up, again, the A/B testing with your site, give yourself some time to work out the kinks, make sure there's nothing broken in here, that it's all triggering at the right times, and seeing that you've got enough A/B testing in your open to get a high open rate, to get your click-through rates up, and understand what's going to resonate with people who are signing up for your email list. Have that, there's still even brands out there. If you don't have a pop-up coming up on your site to capture somebody's email, just do it today. There's tons of apps that can help you with this. You got to have it. So that's a big one where I'm very passionate about this. When I see someone missing it, it's you're letting people who have found your site, really fall through those cracks without capturing their email and being able to send browse abandon ads to them. You could do emails to them and just really try and close that sale. So getting that super tight is really important. Then comes sort of the analysis. I look at after Black Friday's happened, how can you look back and know how valuable were these customers to me? how effective was that sale, or did we shoot ourselves in the foot and now those people aren't coming back because full price is too much? You really have to be cognizant in understanding and doing a postmortem on all of your sales to say, like, was that a value, or did we end up just discounting and showing that what we offer isn't of the value we charge on a day-to-day basis? And so that really is where, Dope's hyper focused on this right now, thinking about what else could we add that adds value instead of just like decreasing the price. So giving away a free blank. In our case, we've got a new digital cookbook. What a great thing to give away for free, because it's going to speed up consumption time and decrease that time we have to wait for them to reorder. So hopefully they get this great cookbook. They're like, oh my God, it's the holiday times. Can't wait to make all these recipes with my family, or just for myself and not share any of it. Either way is fine. And it all leads to them coming back to buy some more cookie dough a little bit sooner. So getting creative with those offers, have your retention marketing set up, and be ready to look back and analyze as the months pass, how valuable were those customers you acquired during this time?
Yeah. Michelle, you want to add in?
Yeah, in addition to that retention strategy, which is probably number one, should be like the first thing on your list. Also, the consumer experience. You talk about A/B testing. If you don't test anything, buy from yourself from beginning to end. That customer experience, and then how do you address an unhappy or an unsatisfied customer? What does that feel like? What does that look like? What does the return process look like? Can they call someone? Can they chat with someone? Really, really understanding the customer experience and making them feel like they're needed, they're wanted, like making them feel like they're part of the brand, and that whatever your brand stands for, they actually feel that from beginning to end to post-purchase. That's how you really convert a customer. They have to really feel engaged and really feel like you support them and value them as a customer. And then you can, once they feel that and experience that, then yes, you can have that retention strategy just kick into gear even more. But if you don't have that in place, if you don't know what a customer feels like, you can't empathize with them. And so you don't really know what they're experiencing. So if you want to get a new customer that just purchased, the follow-up to that, it doesn't end there. They received the product, they tested it, they tried it, and what happens next? So either they're really excited and you want them to buy more, or they're not excited and you want to make them whole, right? You have to make sure that you fully understand it from their perspective.
Yeah, I think that's a great call. Kelsey, did you want to chime in?
Yeah, I'm so passionate about customer service and customer satisfaction. So this is a huge one. I'm really passionate, guys. Can you tell? I really like, this is so big. And, Michelle, you were talking about like, what do you want for that customer experience, right? Be thinking through that. And to put it in that business owner's shoes, it's like, think about how you've felt when you've reached out to a brand and it's like, hey, XYZ wasn't so awesome about my experience. Like this happened, or like, oh my God, this doesn't work. What do I do? Or this doesn't fit, et cetera. We all know those return reasons. The response from that company like makes the world of difference of how you feel about that brand, how many people you're going to tell about that brand, and if you'll ever buy from them again. So as much as it may seem like, oh my gosh, we have a 100% happiness guarantee policy at our company, highly recommend it. You might be like, oh, there's no way I could do that. Like, how could we afford all those returns? We need to make sure we've pushed back a little bit. And it's like the response you get from the customer when you just are like, we're going here. Like, we're going to do whatever it takes to make it right. Like, oh, FedEx missed a birthday or whatever it is. Like we missed the mark. Like we're going above and beyond to like resend like twice their order or whatever we can do to really make them feel like we care so much about making this right. And there's no, oh, sorry, you didn't like it. Like literally if people write that they didn't like the cookie dough, we'll make it right. We'll get them a new flavor if they want to try that, or we'll refund it. So highly recommend this. You're just going to have such a big volume of people. And like you mentioned, Kate, it's impulse buys. There are going to be those people that were like, I just like don't want this, or I didn't mean to buy it, or it doesn't work for me anymore. Just do it. Just make it right. Because if you don't, if you give them a hard time and you cause more pain, they're going to have those stories to tell other people. I think we all know there's some metrics on like, if someone's upset, what number of people do they tell about that experience? And that'll hurt. So that hurts more than just doing the refund or making things right. So there you go.
And Kelsey, you said, what if we can't afford it? I mean, honestly, you can't afford not to afford it, right? You have to find a way to have an excellent customer experience. And know that the customer experience starts from the time that they do a search for you or for your product, that they've identified that you have something to sell to them. So the customer experience starts at the point of identification to the point of post-purchase and follow-up. Like, it's not just from the time that they bought it. I mean, if they didn't have a good experience, maybe you had a product that they really needed, but if they didn't have a good experience in buying it, it was too hard to get through, you know, the shopping cart experience. It was too hard to actually find what they did. They spent hours finding it. The chances and the likelihood of them buying again are still going to be minimum. So yes, it's about, if they don't like the product, now what? But it's also about the journey that got them to make the purchase. It all has to work very smoothly.
Yeah, I totally agree. I just like, yeah, I think that if you're looking at like customer satisfaction as an add-on or as something that you can afford, like that's leaky bucket in its definition. Like it's such a crucial part of the business. And like Kelsey said, like I think that go to any review site and like people love talking poorly about, like when they feel like there's been an injustice or that they have not been heard, like they want to tell the world about it. Like I remember my mom used to call a radio show literally just for venting when she was younger about like packages that went missing or phone calls that got dropped. And you're so much more likely to do that than when you have such a good experience. And so I just like, I think that that's such an important note. I want to thank you all.
Good to know. Kate, quick, we need to know your mom's name so we look out for this because I don't want to end up on a radio show with anything bad.
I can tell you right now, like the second she sees this, I'm gonna get like 4 emails. It's like, I think I know Kelsey's family and her cousin actually. And I'm like, yeah, okay, thanks, Mom.
That's awesome.
But thank you all so much for your insights. It was absolutely incredible. I think like it's been really helpful just for me to listen to as somebody that like doesn't have a brand, but just works at Yapo. And so I hope that it's also been really, really helpful for everyone here. And I'm sure that it has been. So thank you so much. And to our amazing viewers, hang on for the next session where you'll be hearing from Somia Freed-Silber at Edible. Thank y'all.
Thank you.
Thank you. Have a dope day.
Bye.
Thanks.
Thanks, Kate, and hello, everyone. My name is Jennifer Conklin, and I am a VP at Capgemini, where I run our commerce solutions. I'm here with Somia Freed-Silber, Vice President of e-commerce at Edible. Thank you for joining me today, Somia.
Thanks for having me.
Great, let's dive in. So we had some time to prep before the session, and I really enjoyed getting to know you. You've had such an incredible progression of roles at Edible. Can you tell us more about your transition from back office operations to running the e-commerce site?
Yeah, sure thing. So my roles at Edible have been within technology and operations primarily. Prior to leading e-commerce, I was I worked with all of our product owners and our engineers across our proprietary applications, everything from our retail technology, like our point of sale solution and our delivery app, to the e-commerce platform. And I have also spent a lot of time working at Edible stores. I've sort of grown up with the business, which gave me a really strong understanding of the product offering. When the opportunity came up to lead the e-commerce team, it was definitely a daunting one for sure, because I got so used to having that back of house, so to say, role. But it was the exactly the kind of opportunity that I thrive in because there was a really big challenge. We were in a double-digit decline. We had a few years of really soft sales. And I love working in an environment where I'm challenged and I get to really make an impact. And it was a now or never moment for the entire management team at the time. We knew that we had something really big ahead of us, and it was an opportunity to have that mission of bringing the company back to growth. Scary, but very exciting. We had to go back to basics and take time to understand our customers, highlight our offerings and all the way that customers shop, whether it's through price point or occasion. And there were so many discoveries as we started this journey, which I'm sure we'll get into a little more in a little bit.
Great. You did work a lot in the back office, but it's interesting that you also had that retail experience. How did that help you understand the customer journey as you moved over to the e-commerce channel?
Yeah, I think one thing that's really important, and I said this a little bit earlier, but just understanding what are all the different ways that customers shop, and especially with Edible, right? So Edible is known for our beautiful fresh fruit arrangements that are very high priced. We've had an issue where Edible has been seen as very expensive to consumers, and it's not necessarily approachable. It's not something that's every day. So one thing that we came in and we did very quickly was start to understand what are the different price points that we need to offer. And it's not all an AOV game, right? So the team previously was always really focused on high average ticket, get it as high as possible. Something that I'm really proud of doing is coming in and saying, no, we're actually going to go and expand our gifts under 30, getting gifts under 50, and create an approachable price point for everyone, which should in turn help us get more transactions and help us increase our frequency. So I would much rather have a customer come and shop with Edible 3 or 4 times a year versus just once a year for that really big occasion, and just have the opportunity to be a part of more special moments. So it was little things like that that we started to figure out. It was also the introduction of new categories. So like I said, we're really known for those fresh fruit arrangements and the dipped fruit, but in the last year and a half, we've introduced baked goods like cookies and cheesecakes. We sell flowers now, we have chocolates. We've really expanded past the arrangements, which just creates more reasons to buy. And that's really important to help us with that frequency and increasing transactions.
That's fantastic. You've definitely been able to quickly reverse the decline for the channel. That shift to the younger buyer, was that based on data or based on sort of the behaviors that you guys were experiencing?
Yeah, mostly based on data. I think we have our core audience, generally older, higher household income. I think it was really important for me to figure out how can you start to introduce the brand to the next generation of consumers, right? And it's just part of that natural evolution. We actually saw a pretty big increase in revenue from Gen Z last year. It was about over 100% increase in revenue. And that was really telling for us. A lot of that happened because of the new category offering and the new price points that we made available. And it was just a part of the growth strategy for us to come in and say, all right, if we want to continue growing and if we want to be a household name, which we are, but if we want people to talk about not just receiving edible arrangements, but also gifting edible arrangements, this is really the direction that we have to head in. And we have to create an offering that works for everyone, whether they are a mom who's having a birthday party, or, someone who did really well on an exam in college and they want to treat themselves and treat their friends. Whatever the reason is, we want to figure out how we can be a part of all of those special occasions.
Yeah, I noticed that when I went to go visit your site in prep for this session, that your products really had expanded. It was something that I hadn't known, and it really did re-engage me with the brand, and so I'm excited to repurchase. So thank you.
Yeah, love to hear that.
Bring those to the table.
Yeah.
Buying behaviors have changed a lot over the past year and a half. Have you noticed that, and how's that impacted the gifting market?
Yeah, so we talked a little bit about buying behaviors in terms of demographics and age, which is something that was really important to us. The other big change that we've seen is fulfillment trends. So pre-pandemic, we had very, very high same-day delivery orders. It was about 50%. So 50% of our orders that were placed were for delivery that same day. And this is something that's our competitive advantage. We are known for last minute, last mile, and all of our orders come out of a locally owned and operated edible store location that's owned by a franchisee who's really integrated in that community. And that gift is coming in a refrigerated vehicle to the recipient. That's something that not a lot of people know about our brand, and it's just so core to who we are. So what we saw happen with COVID is people had more time to plan in advance. All of the holidays throughout COVID, we were getting orders a lot earlier. So for example, for Mother's Day 2020, we had actually hit our orders target a week prior to Mother's Day, which was unheard of for us. And it was really great because our franchisees had the opportunity to go plan and make sure that all of those orders were executed on time and executed really well versus getting that last minute rush. And at the same time, it also allowed us to conserve some media dollars that we were able to spend later in Q4. So that was probably one of the biggest trends that we saw, is just this idea of like ordering much earlier, being more prepared in advance. And it started to sort of trail off, and we're headed back into pre-pandemic days now.
Right. Time was definitely something we had more of in 2020.
For sure.
Speaking of that, we're definitely in the crunch period here as we lead up to holiday. What do you have planned for Edible, and what strategies do you plan to implement during this season?
Yeah, our holiday season actually starts with Thanksgiving and it goes all the way through to May. So it's not really just November, December, Black Friday, Cyber Monday. Black Friday and Cyber Monday actually aren't big days for us at all. It's probably one of our quieter weekends. So we'll usually, for us, Thanksgiving and Christmas are the lead up to our Super Bowl, which is Valentine's Day, and that's the busiest days of the year. And that it's a really great way for us to test different SKUs, test new strategies, whether it comes to merchandising or promotions. And sometimes we even see the orders start to come in pre-Thanksgiving and much earlier from a corporate gifting standpoint. So like I said earlier, this year, we are expecting the orders, rather than them being so spread out across the 2 months, to come in a little heavier around Christmas time and around Thanksgiving. And those will be our heavier fulfillment weeks. And that's just something that we're planning for, and we know will be different than last year. And it's just a different way of prepping and getting ready for the holiday. And I think, like I said, having all of those price points available, having all of our new SKUs, this is going to be the first holiday where we have all our entire product portfolio on display. We love the opportunity to bundle our different products and be able to sell, a box of cheesecakes with some chocolates or some fresh fruit. We're also introducing coffees and teas. And the variety is really nice. And we know customers enjoy curation and they enjoy, a little bit of everything. So we're really excited to make that a part of the holiday season this year. The other really unique thing about this year versus last year is last year we were also in election season. And we didn't get to start our media until after the elections. So it was unique all the way around. This year we'll start to do that a lot earlier from an upper funnel perspective.
That's great insight. I think a lot of retailers last year experienced that elongated holiday period where there weren't those traditional peaks. There was definitely shopping throughout the season. Plus, people had to plan in advance due to fulfillment issues.
Yep.
When you're looking at your data and you're doing your planning, are you looking at year-over-year data, or are you going back to 2019 to help you do your category sets?
Yep. For this year, we're not really looking at 2020. I think it's a good benchmark. I think it's good to look at more of as an FYI, but we're really looking at 2019 and even prior. We also look at day on day very heavily as well, because that impacts our business. Weekdays tend to be a lot stronger than weekends. So we look at those trends as well.
Great. Sounds like you guys are well positioned for another great holiday season. I'm excited for that.
Hope so.
As you look towards the future, how does Edible encourage repeat purchases and loyalty from shoppers? And what does personalization look like for the brand?
Yeah. We've talked about category expansion. We've talked about creating more reasons to buy. We spent the first quarter of 2021 working on a customer data platform implementation. And now we have all of our active customer records sitting in Microsoft Dynamics Customer Insights. And this has been a really great way for us to get more granular with our segmentation and create tailored experiences across different channels, whether it's through email flows or promotions. And aside from technology, something else that's super important to us is just creating that wow experience. So our mission is to wow you. And we try to do this through everything, whether it's our innovation and products. So for example, when we're testing out new recipes, if we're all sitting at a table and if someone doesn't say, whoa, this is really good, or wow, I love this, it usually means, hey, we have to keep innovating here. There's something that we're missing. Usually the wow for us is that light bulb of, okay, we figured it out, time to launch. And also with customer care, right? What is that post-purchase experience like for the customer? Are we making it easy for them to get in contact with us? I think it's really important to have that piece figured out, because we are a part of thousands of special moments every day, right? Whether it's a birthday or a thank you or congratulations. People are really trusting us with those special occasions, and they're expecting us to deliver. They're expecting us to be there with that fruit arrangement or that box of cookies and cheesecakes. So that piece, I feel like if we figure it out and we continue to figure it out and do that really well, it just helps us with our frequency and our loyalty, because it creates a really strong trust between us and the customer.
Right. And I know personalization can mean a lot of things to a lot of people. So are you specifically looking at loyalty in terms of rewards, or are you offering other options out to your consumers?
Yeah, it's primarily through loyalty. We are in the process of revamping our loyalty program right now, and we'll be launching something in Q4. Today, our loyalty program is very simple. Once you make 3 purchases, you get a free box, and that's really it. We really want to get more into surprise and delight. It's something that we've started to test, and we've seen it do really well. And really make a loyalty program that works for everyone, whether they've made, one very small purchase or a very large purchase. And it's also a great opportunity for us to be able to highlight not only our portfolio of products, everything from our smoothies to our arrangements, but also bring people into our retail locations, and really help us turn our locations into retail destinations.
What I love is your focus on really making sure that the customer is treated well. And I can hear it in your voice and your passion and talking about those special moments. And that's really great. What I've also recognized about you and your company is that you guys have a really tight team. And so when you talk about product, you talk about customer service, you talk about customer care. It's not just about the e-com channel. Tell us more about how the structure of the team that you work with really contribute to the success.
Yeah. So before we get into that, really, you mentioned our e-commerce and our products. We live by this philosophy called the 5 Ps. It's our promise, our products, our places, our people, and our purpose. And the people, and nothing is possible without the people. When I took over e-commerce in 2019, it was a team of 3. And we were just 3 of us heads down trying to figure out how are we going to fix this. And one of my top priorities was figuring out how do you build the right team to support, such a large channel and such a large business. And we have a team of 14 now with e-commerce alone. It's very cross-functional, very collaborative. We move very quickly. There's really no restrictions. And one thing that I really believe in is if there are ideas and if there's something that we want to test out, we go for it. We have a hypothesis and we have a goal in mind. And we see how it goes. If it didn't work, all right, it didn't work. Why didn't it work? And figure that out before you try again. Or if it did work, how do you replicate and how do you continue to do that? And that's something that we've implemented with the team just to make sure that there's always new and fresh ideas and that we're always testing something and we're always learning. Very collaborative with everyone else in the organization. We work very closely with our innovation, marketing, supply chain, finance partners. And I think that's just something that's really important, especially when things are moving quickly from an e-commerce perspective, and we're also able to take those learnings to the retail level.
Agreed. And I love the way that you guys have broken down the traditional silos to make sure you're focused on those 5 Ps.
Yeah.
A big difference.
It takes time. It definitely takes time just to get into that groove, and to learn how to make sure that we all work better together. And I think the reason why it's happened so well is because everyone kind of has that same mission in mind of wowing the customer, taking care of every order, making sure that it goes out and it looks amazing. When everyone's sort of aligned on that mission and that passion, it really helps everything else sort of fall into place to make the work happen in the best way possible.
That's great. You've had such a huge impact in your short time at Edible. What do you wish you knew earlier in your career that you know now?
Yeah, that is a great question. I wish I believed in myself more. Every role that I've gotten at the company is because I was able to make change happen. And I quickly realized that the areas that I was being pulled into and designated to was because I was okay with a challenge, and I understood, what needed fixing for growth or for team or for process. And I am so fortunate to always have had amazing mentors, leaders, and peers who've supported me and, really pushed me to do more and to, take on challenges that are really big that I didn't feel I was ready for. And looking back, I wish I advocated for myself more and did the same for myself too, that everyone else was doing, instead of thinking, no, I can't do it because I'm not experienced enough in this area, or I'm still really young in my career and I don't have as many years of experience as other people who would be coming in here. I wish I figured that out earlier, because once I did, it really helped with my confidence, and it really helped me understand that, I'm the only person that's in my way. And once I kind of let that go, I was able to work at a much better pace and just be more comfortable in the environment that I was in. And it's just helped me be way more confident in my ability to lead and help grow the business.
It's extremely insightful. I think women often struggle with that, and it's a common trait that we probably shoulder amongst us. How do you mentor the younger generation to make sure that they sort of get out of their own way and can find the success that you have?
Yeah, I love mentoring now. I'm fortunate to have very amazing mentors, so I try to pay it forward and do the same. I actually love to mentor college students and young women who are early in their careers. And a lot of it just has to do with, setting goals, right? I think it's really important to have a goal. For me, we talked about this briefly, but a big goal for me last year was getting more comfortable with public speaking, right? And it was as simple as, hey, in the next 3 months, I'm going to find 3 different events where I'm going to talk about something that I love doing, and I'm going to talk about my work and share more about what my team does. And it's really nice to kind of have a goal and to write it down and come back later and see the progress that you've made and look back. I look back now to me this time last year and how nervous I was, getting in front of a group or talking in a forum like this, and how much I've improved just with the practice. And having those goals to look back to is always nice to help measure that progress. And that's something that I always pass on to all of my mentees.
Great. They're lucky to have you.
Thank you.
So this was extremely insightful and exactly why we wanted to have you here today. So thank you very much, Soumya.
Thanks so much for having me.
Thank you, Jennifer. And thank you to all our amazing speakers and attendees for joining us today for this wonderful event. But a special thank you to Yotpo and our event partners, Ametria, Tapcart, Movable Ink, and Capgemini. We will, of course, be sending you a full recording of today's event via email, so stay tuned for that. We'll also be sending out an email asking you to rate today's event and share your feedback. We would really appreciate it if you could take a few minutes to fill it out. It'll help us to continue to bring you the best speakers and cover the most relevant topics possible. And if you want to share any content from the event on social, please make sure to tag Women in Ecom and Yotpo so we can reshare. Thank you again, and stay tuned for our next event.